Today I want to talk about how I got into acting because I think it's really weird how I got into acting. Now, even though I've done a lot lately, and it started mainly, I would say, 3 years ago, it actually goes a little bit back farther. Let me explain. So growing up, my dad used to take me to the Museum of Science and Industry a lot because I was a huge fan of science, and they had an exhibit called Action, and what it was this fun little exhibit where you get to walk around and then they actually put you in like a tiny movie. And I got to play the bad guy in that. They gave me like an envelope, and all I had to do was steal an envelope on a plane and then run off screen, and then they made it look like I jumped out the plane. It was pretty cool. But I was like about 5 years, like I was very young when it happened. I was very, very young. But my dad really got me into like cinematography and stuff like that. When I was in high school, I joined drama club. However, though, I was never picked for anything in drama club. I was actually just there. The only thing I got to do for drama club was we had a homecoming parade, and during the homecoming parade, we had the play Grease going on. So I got to be a greaser during the homecoming parade. Like, I wasn't even like a tree or anything. I was just the kid in the parade. But also at that time I was very shy. This is a little bit after the time that I started doing magic shows. So when I started doing magic, I kind of had a little bit more confidence. But even though I had that confidence, I wasn't really confident enough to deliver in a theater setting like that. Now, most of growing up, I started magic mainly in first grade. I didn't really do a lot with it until middle school. That's when I started performing, but that was mainly just like birthday parties and stuff. I wasn't doing anything on a grand scale. So to sit there and be given a script and understand how to like read a script and deliver, or even just kind of understand like your emotions and such, that wasn't something I was really good at until I got a little bit older. However, in high school, I did do a lot with media. I ended up doing half-day high school, half-day college to get college credits, and ended up spending a lot of time in summer school. This time I wanted to get into meteorology because I was very interested in like twisters and stuff. I always loved the movie Twister, and I've always thought it'd be cool to be a storm chaser. So during the news segments during high school, I would end up being the meteorologist and learning how to do that. And sometimes I would direct or produce some of the broadcasts. When I graduated, I ended up going to college to go to media school, and I did a mixture of radio and a bunch of other things. I ended up doing meteorology, actually. I was doing a bunch of stuff with it. The only issue is that you do need a science degree as well as a media degree. So we ended up settling for sports, and I ended up working for the Gary Railcats for a little bit. I was a videographer for them. But this is where it gets interesting. While in college, I ended up getting into pro wrestling. I was a pro wrestler. Life kind of got askew, and I stopped doing a lot of stuff in media. I ended up working at Planet Fitness for a bit, did a couple different jobs, worked at a casino, but I still did wrestling for a time and magic. Fast forward quite some time, and about 3 years ago, my buddy's like, hey, you have pro wrestling background. Can you do stunt work for this movie for us? We need you to like be shot and fall. So they ended up putting me in a gas mask. This movie's yet to come out still, but they put me in a gas mask like this and had me fall. I also had another fight scene where I had to have one of the leads punch me in the face as this guy, so that was really fun. But I did a lot of networking when I was there, and I ended up getting into the area where people are like, hey, you should keep the background work. So I sent out an email to a casting call, and I ended up getting on Chicago PD, which you don't see me at all except for like the little tiniest surveillance video. And then after that, I did Chicago Med, which I was a patient in, and you get to see me in a hospital bed while they're talking. I did all the Chicago shows, Chicago Fire, PD, and Med, and I also did The Bear, which is pretty fun, except you don't see me in The Bear, which is upsetting. And then just recently, I got to mend both acting and magic, and I was a magic consultant for the new Barbershop series coming out on Amazon. Now, I know I haven't had a lot of speaking roles. I didn't do anything. I had a lot more fighting roles. I got punched in the face a bunch of times and shot in the face a bunch of times, but I feel like I've yet to do anything speaking-wise, and I'm very excited to branch off into that. I'm really hoping to get a commercial here in 2026. I would love to get a commercial and just build off that. I know while working on Barbershop, I got to keep the sides for the day, and I got to read over the sides and understand the scene and understand how to build the magic around that scene. So that was pretty fun to build upon a show like that. But it's very interesting, so I would love to do more within acting and to do even maybe reality TV in the future. I don't know. I tried America's Got Talent before, but it's all just a mishmash. But I know acting is it's very interesting. But that is my journey. That's how I got into acting, was honestly pro wrestling. And that's my journey so far. It's very unorthodox, I feel. I feel like a lot of people definitely go through the route of going to theater and doing things of that nature. And I'm just happy to have the opportunity to do things I do. I love hearing other people's journeys that are in acting. I've made so many friends from it. And the greatest thing I've ever was told, it was on the set of Chicago Med. I didn't consider myself an actor. And there's a guy that plays a security guard on Chicago Med, and he looked me dead in the face and he says, you right now are an actor. Don't let anybody take that away from you. You're here on set. Even though you're not talking, you're telling a story with your face. You're telling a story with your body. You don't need to say anything, but people know what's going on based off of what you are doing, what you're pantomiming. He said there's hundreds of people that probably applied to be a background for this show, and you got picked. And you're sitting here, standing here, delivering. You're an actor, and don't let anybody take that away from you. And that meant a lot. So, I don't know. Background is its own thing. You know, it's having a day player role and all that, that's a whole different monster. But I mean, it just felt good to have that validation in that moment. So if you're looking to get into it and you're sitting there staring at that casting call, send the email. Learn along the way. So thank you all for listening to my story, and hopefully I get a commercial this year.